Remove the feathers, broil it on 475. Goya seasoning soaked in orange juice works best. That's the crow I got to eat today, Carlos Ledo.
Listen, man, I think this happens to you because you ended up going with a guy from Texas A&M for this pregame breakdown, and it went too heavy. You guys went too hard, and when you get led astray, Manny, you're easily influenced by these guys, Manny. And this is what I'm here for. I'm here to keep you in check. I'm here to keep you grounded. I'm not only a part-time co-host. I'm a friend, Manny. I'm here for you. I support you, but you got led astray. You got led down the wrong path. You're like Little Red Riding Hood. She went down the wrong path, right? And ran into the wolf. And this is what happens today. So this is what happens when you don't have me on the show to counterbalance some of your negativity and give you a little bit different perspective and analysis.
Well, listen, I was thinking of actually bringing on Mr. 15-0, Kelvin Harris, because people have said I'm far too negative on the Canes. And I thought, I don't know, man, that's a little bit too sweet for my taste to bring Kelvin on
Yeah,
after
that's
this
like
win. I don't want
you're
people
going
thinking
from
15-0 crazy.
you're going from extremely bitter on one end and then bringing on Willy Wonka into Chocolate Factory.
Hey, congratulations to Mario Cristobal and the Hurricanes for beating Texas A&M 48-33. Impressive week 2 win for Miami. I didn't think they'd get blown out. I was worried that if they didn't show up on defense, that could happen. I thought it'd be a 7 to 10 point game with Texas A&M winning, which is what I said on TV when I went on SEC Network, when I went on Sirius XM, when I was talking about this team. I thought, okay, they're not ready to win a game like this yet, but I was wrong. And
Yeah,
after they fell behind 10-0, Carlos, they really turned it up. And what impressed me beyond the offensive line holding back Texas A&M's talented front. Okay, Tyler Van Dyke was sacked only twice. What really, really impressed me was how well the receivers played. I didn't think they had that in them. I didn't think Xavier Restrepo was going to go for 126 yards, a career high. I didn't think Jacoby George was going to create space in the passing game, but they did. They finally showed that the receivers could step up, and that was a huge concern coming into this year for me.
yeah. I think what's ended up happening here is there's a lot of focus on Colby Young, right? You could see they wanted to rotate coverage over him and slow him down. And they felt like he's the guy they needed to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did that, they allowed opportunities for other guys like Restrepo and Jacoby George to break free and make plays. And then they didn't even respect Isaiah Horton on that go route. They just had him one-on-one, no safety help over the top. They figured their corner can handle it with no problem, and he just blew by the corner.
All right. In case we didn't do introductions, I'll do it here. That's Carlos Ledo of the MIA All Day Podcast. I'm Manny Navarro from the Athletic, Miami Hurricanes beat writer, college football writer for the Athletic. Carlos, what do we take away from this win? What are the big, and we're going to break down some of the positions and look at some of the PFF numbers and discuss all of that. But for me, I wrote a column on Saturday night around 9 o'clock as I was sitting in the press box, how I think the biggest takeaway for Miami in this is now you sort of solidified your recruiting class. I think now the floor for this team is 9-3, right? Like I think I said 7-5 before the season. I think the floor now should be 9-3. I think the only 3 games that they're probably capable of losing at this point are North Carolina on the road because they've got to exercise those demons, Florida State on the road in Tallahassee because they're just a great team, and then Clemson, who is still the defending ACC champion. I know they don't look great right now, but it's still a game, a hurdle that Miami has to get over in my mind. So to me, the floor is 9-3. I think 9-3 not only keeps this recruiting class intact, but it probably gets some more kids on board in 24 and in 25. So to me, that is the big takeaway from this. What is your big takeaway?
My big takeaway, first of all, after the introductions, guys, I think we need to coin a name for our show whenever I'm on. And I've been
Yes.
telling you this for the last 3 years, and I think it's a fantastic name. Navarro, the actual journalist, the guy who does all these national shows and is an incredible beat writer and has been doing this for 25 plus years, and the guy nobody knows, nobody cares about, that Manny only brings on to have somebody else to talk to. This needs to happen. Anyway, I think what I took away from this game is that this coaching staff is much better than the one from last year.
Okay.
I
Good.
think aside from, the game plan coming in, I think the halftime adjustments made not only this game, but against Miami of Ohio, where they in both second halves came out and took control of the game. This coaching staff is very self-aware. They are not the type of coaching staff that says, listen, my plan is right. you guys aren't executing, and we're just going to stick with it until you get it right. On the contrary, they're looking at what's happening in real time. They're asking these players for feedback. Offensively, Tyler Van Dyke is talking to Shannon Dawson. Shannon Dawson sees what's happening. Lance Guidry's out there seeing what's working, what's not working defensively, and making slight adjustments. At the beginning, he didn't bring that much pressure. Then he started adjusting, bringing pressure from different angles and making things happen, trusting his back end a little bit more when he pressured. To me, these guys are, they're aggressive, they're confident, and they're willing to make changes in game to give them the best chance to win. That to me is the biggest takeaway so far through 2 games and after this victory. And that goes a long way to helping you be successful as the season wears on. Because look at what happened. You're going to get punched in the mouth against good teams. You're going to have to face adversity. There could not have been a worse start to this game, okay, than what we've seen. And what happened when these kinds of things happened a season ago? You get Middle Tennessee. You get bum rushed because of the turnovers early on. You get Duke. You get games where you just get blown out of the water and this team surrenders because there is no change in the plan. There is no adjustment. And I think in addition to that, I think these players really believe in these new systems, right? They believe in these coaches and this coaching staff. They feel confident in what it is they're doing. And something's changed in the way they're coaching these guys, right? Because they're playing confident, they're listening, they're responding, and they're not folding, which to me is huge.
Right. Xavier Restrepo said the culture is at an all-time high. And I think really since he got here, you have to agree with that because there, like you said, there is a level of confidence that these guys didn't have before. And, they didn't show it at the very beginning. They didn't show it. They looked a little scared in the very beginning when they fell behind 10-0. And I was worried. I thought, Carlos, here we go again. You and I were texting each other back and forth with Kelvin. We have our little text message thread during the game. And I said to you guys, oh boy, we're in trouble. Like this is not this is not going to be a good day, which is what I feared. I feared, oh man, they're going to get hit in the mouth and just not respond. And that was the complete opposite. They showed up, and really it was Tyler Van Dyke. I thought on his side of the ball, he took control of the game when he hit Xavier Restrepo on that big 48-yard gain up the seam for the first down of the game for Miami. I thought it really energized the bench. It really got people to start to believe. And so, we've made a lot about Tyler, his AC joint sprain that he suffered last year, and then, having the black tape on his finger. Is he going to be able to throw the football the way he needs to? 5 touchdown passes in this game, career high. First Miami quarterback to do that against a ranked opponent ever, according to the Associated Press. So impressive performance by him. And when you look at the Pro Football Focus numbers, right, in terms of how often he was pressured, which again, this is a testament to the offensive line. He was sacked twice in this game, but the reality is Texas A&M brought the blitz 12 times in this game. Tyler was 8 for 12, 122 yards and 3 touchdowns when they blitzed him. When he was under pressure, which was really only 7 times in this game, he was 3 of 5, 103 yards and touchdowns. He didn't make any bad decisions with the football. And I think against a quality SEC opponent, because yes, Texas A&M may not be, conference champions this year. They may be an 8-4 team. They're still the 4th most talented team in the country on paper, right? They still have a ridiculous roster. To perform that way, to have the confidence to throw the football that way, throw it to your receivers, trust them to make plays. That was huge for Miami's entire season. And now I have the confidence to say they have the kind of offense they need to win 9 or 10 games this year. And we'll see on the defensive end. They had some injuries in this game that I thought were pretty big, right? They lost Branson Dean. They lost Akeem Mesidor, 2 of their starters on the defensive line. Mario Cristobal went on Joe Rose this morning, said that he's hopeful both of those guys will be back, that he thinks they will at some point this year. We'll see when that happens. Mark Fletcher, your big freshman running back, the guy that I projected to lead the team in rushing this year. Talking through some back channels, I think he's going to be fine. He'll probably just miss Thursday's game. We'll see if he get him back for Temple. And then Cam Kitchens, of course, your All-American safety gets carted off the field, stretchered off the field. But very encouraging signs with Cam. I don't think it's a serious injury. I think he will be back probably in a week or 2 for Miami. So that's all good news. But still, I would say A&M rolling up 33 points, threw for a lot of yards in this game. Like, you're going to need an offense to win in college football these days, especially when you play a team like Florida State.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, listen, again, they had a bunch of short fields, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they got a block punt, they got a muffed punt, and it put them right. It set them up right in front of the goal line, basically both times. So yes, they had 33 points, but they also had an easier way to get those 33 points than the Miami did. Miami had to have a lot of long drives, except for those 2 picks that they got. So early on, it was a lot of short fields for A&M. I thought it was very encouraging the way the offensive line blocked. Like you said, I think PFF had Texas A&M down for 9 pressures, 2 sacks, which is not a great percentage, but at the same time, only giving up 9 pressures, facing that defensive line, and the pressure was coming in the second half, I think was fantastic. I think, my podcast, I said if you give Tyler Van Dyke the opportunity to, if he's protected, he's going to make plays, and we've seen that. He's a different guy when he's got a clean pocket. On top of that, credit to Kevin Beard, whatever he's done with this receiving core, to not only have them improve. There were some drops. There's still a little loss of focus there a couple times throughout the game where you had a couple drops, one by Colby Young, and I forget who the other ones might have been, Jacoby George. But the fact that they are not only playing well, but also that Tyler Van Dyke is trusting them, which is a huge difference compared to last year. Remember last year's A&M game, he did not feel comfortable. He did not know who to go to with the football. And then he eventually found Colby Young later in the season. That became his security blanket to make big plays for him. But here he's spreading the ball around, and he's doing it without a tight end in the passing game, which is also extremely impressive. I said in my podcast, this is why you guys should listen to me, man. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yes, please listen to Carlos.
I said that this game wasn't going to be about whoever won the rushing attack, whoever rushed from where I was. It was going to be the team who ended up making the most plays in the vertical passing game was going to win this game. And I will give you the statistics right now. So passing plays over 20 yards, Texas A&M was 1 of 4 for 44 yards. Connor Wegman only connected on 1 pass for 44 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. Passes of over 20 yards downfield, Tyler Van Dyke, 2 of 3, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's the game. The difference was Miami had a concern. I had a concern. We both had a concern that these corners were not going to be able to contain, Stewart. They're not going to play Noah Thomas, Anaya Smith. They have a lot of speed, a lot of size on the outside. We thought it was going to be an issue for Miami's corners. And then on the flip side of that, I felt that A&M's corners were going to come up and try and press and knock Miami out of their passing game, their quick scheme, because of what they saw against Miami, Ohio. Miami, Ohio basically playing off and allowing the Hurricanes to get whatever they wanted underneath. And I felt A&M was going to try and stop that. And the opportunities presented itself. The Hurricanes executed, A&M did not. Obviously, I still have a few concerns. I still think, there was a couple blown coverages early in the game, which they handled in the second half. I think the offensive line did a great job in the pass blocking. I think they still have a ways to go in terms of run blocking. I think A&M stuffed the run for the most part. We had some okay runs. We busted a few here and there, but for the most part, it didn't look as good as it did against Miami, Ohio. And that's to be expected against a better opponent. So there's a ways to go there in terms of the run game. And I said before the season started, my main concern would be injuries on the back end to the safety spot. Hopefully Cam Kitchens, he's okay. Forget about coming back and playing football. I just want him to be okay, healthy, be able to just live a normal life, which so far it sounds like that's the case. And if he's able to play ball again, great. If not, then listen, man, as long as the kid's healthy for the rest of his life, that's all that matters. I do believe, the one place where they could sustain injuries, and I said that on the pod also, was defensive line. They are deep enough there where they can make some of this stuff up. Mesidor's a great player, but you have enough guys on the edge that you can replace him with. The one injury, Brandon Dean, to me is a little bit of a problem, but they just got this guy from Alabama who hopefully can plug in and take his snaps. And I think, Jared Harrison Hunt needs more snaps anyway. I think he played a really good game.
I don't think the kid from Alabama is going to be available this year. He needs a waiver to be able to play. So
I'll give it to him.
You'll give it to him as long as you can figure it out. I mean, I think North Carolina's trying to get one for Tez Walker. We'll see if they're able to get that receiver.
Yeah, they've been denied for like the 15th time.
We will see what kind of legal action they take. But look, I think, the defensive line, you saw the difference without Mesidor and Dean in the second half. A&M was able to throw the ball a little bit easier. The pressure wasn't getting there as often. I think once Miami got ahead by more than a touchdown, there was a little bit more of a comfort level, right? Like the defense could relax a little bit more. But look, they're going to face good quarterbacks and they're going to face good receivers down the road. And it is going to get tougher. Mario Cristobal said that. So we'll see. We'll see how these guys respond. But Jaden Davis, to me, has been the absolute standout on defense for Miami in terms of new guys that you feel an impact with. He played 84 snaps in this game. Daryl Porter started opposite him, played 72 snaps. According to Pro Football Focus, the 2 highest rated defensive players in the game were those 2 guys. Cam Kitchens was 3rd, Corey Couch was 4th. And
Corey Flagg played a really good game.
Yeah, Corey Flagg was Johnny on the spot. He played 35 snaps in this game. If you look at it just from a snap perspective, Ruben Bain, the true freshman, 58 snaps. That's a lot of work for him. You know, he's adjusting to the college game, facing guys that weigh just as much as he does or more. Jared Harrison Hunt came off the bench, paid 48 snaps with the injury, to Branson Dean. So we'll see what happens going forward, Carlos. But as I get a bunch of alerts here on my computer, as far as health, but I think the next couple of weeks they can take it easy, right? I mean, you got a road
Yeah.
game at Temple, who's not very good after this week's short turnaround against Bethune-Cookman, and then you have the Georgia Tech ACC home opener before you have to go to Carolina. So to me, this is a team that, I'm not going to say that I want to see them coast, right? Like as a Miami fan, I'm sure you don't want to see them coast, but I think you definitely want to see some backups get in the game, and you want to see some guys heal. I think those are sort of the main points. All right, Carlos. Miami picked up a big commitment last night. Not only did they get back into the AP top 25 poll at number 22, but they picked up Waden Charles, who is a top 2025 receiver. And I think that's really important for them because you had over 100 recruits in attendance for this game. I saw the list. There's a large number of really, really good players, including Armando Blunt, who's one of the top 2025 defensive linemen in the country. I think he's number 5 overall as far as like the complete rankings. He was tweeting out after the game how excited he was with the atmosphere. I know that I talked about this on the podcast last time. Hey, well, I wonder how many tickets Miami's going to sell. They sold 48,000, which there were some sections that were empty in the upper deck. And, but the place was loud. And those fans, I thought, made an influence in the game. They forced Texas A&M to call some timeouts. As far as the extracurricular stuff, that's kind of what I got off of this game was, hey, the fans showed up and they were loud.
Yeah, you could hear it through the TV, although through most of the game I play music anyway. That's my little routine. But listen, I think the players looked excited. They looked fired up. It was obvious that there were times where A&M had a couple false starts because of the crowd noise. This is never going to be the best attendance in terms of fan bases across college football. We're never going to be number one in that sense. But when we do show up, we show up loud, we show up aggressive, and we let ourselves be known. So I think the fan base did a really good job with that on Saturday. I think the other thing is these recruits, they're seeing the change, like you said, in the culture. They're seeing the change on the field. And it's interesting to me that they landed a receiver recruit, a top 100 receiver recruit so early in the season, because now they're seeing the change in the offensive system.
Right.
So far, they've had an issue landing big time receiver recruits, guys they really targeted and wanted. But now they got JoJo Trader. They've picked up this new commitment. And who knows? Maybe Jeremiah Smith makes a change of heart down the road if the Hurricanes are good enough. They end up being 10-2, and that offense continues to hum the way it is and looks the way it is, with the ball being spread around all over the field. Maybe it's something for him to consider.
Yeah. I want to get to our mailbag questions because I know some fans certainly have been ripping me on the podcast and in my stories and social media all the time. I'm too negative. Look, man, I want to explain myself once again. And some people get it. It's not all of them. This program's been through a lot in the last 20 years. Okay. And 5-7 last year was as ugly as I've seen it. Mario Cristobal had to make changes. He did. He went out and he hired good coordinators. It was obviously, that Shannon Dawson was the right hire for Tyler Van Dyke and the players that they have. I thought he called a terrific game, especially in the red zone, which that was really, really important for Miami. But the reality is, getting back to my point, this program had a lot to prove. And I said 7-5 before the season because I didn't see the heart last year. On Saturday, we finally saw the heart. We saw it's real. It's one thing to go out and beat Miami of Ohio and play confident against a team that you have more talent than. It's another thing to go out and beat a team that's more talented than you on paper after you fall behind 10-0. And so, to me, for all the fans who were giving me shit because I said they were going to go 7-5, go screw yourself. This has been a bad program for many, many years. And we needed to see change. And this seems like real change. And congratulations to Mario Cristobal for doing it. I'm sorry if I didn't believe it. I'm sorry if I had to see it before it actually happened. But we saw it Saturday. And now we can move forward.
Listen, there's a famous line in the movie Pulp Fiction where the wolf comes into the room and everybody's all excited because they've cleaned up the body and everything's been taken care of. And he says, "Let's not start sucking things yet, gentlemen. We got a lot of work to do." So we got a lot of work to do. Let's not start patting each other on the back just yet. This reminds me of beating Florida under Al Golden early in the season. This reminds me of other wins that have happened early in the season against the top 25 team. I thought they would be 8-4 this year because I didn't believe just yet. I need to see more. I still think 8-4, 9-3. I think 9-3 is more possible now. I think 10-2 is within the realm of possibility as well now if they continue on this track. But I still need to see more. The one thing about college football is that people don't get, especially when you don't have overwhelming talent, when you're not in Alabama, when you're not a Clemson, when you're not in Ohio State, when you're not a Georgia, matchups matter. And when you get a bad matchup against a team that may be a little bit inferior than you are in terms of talent, and they match up better in certain spots where their strengths are your weaknesses, that makes a difference. And then you're going to be in a dogfight against a team that you didn't anticipate. It might be a team like NC State. Who knows? There's still teams on the schedule that can be dangerous to the Hurricanes. I'm not predicting blowout wins the rest of the season. There's going to be things that happens. You have to account for injuries. You have to account for different things that happen. You don't know what's going to happen throughout the course of the season. This is not the 2001 Hurricanes. These are not the national title Hurricanes of the 80s. This is a good team, and I'm so happy that we're seeing a difference on the field. But we still have a long way to go. They still got to clean up the penalties. They still got to clean up the discipline. They've got to be a little bit better in certain areas, but it's a good, encouraging sign, and it's great to be happy. And for those of people who are pissed off that, you predicted 7-5, hey, it is what it is, man. At the end of the day, you have 20 years of data to back you up. Although I believe they were going to be a little bit better than you anticipated. See, I'm throwing that in there so I don't get as much heat in the comments and shit.
Yeah.
I've got to cover my ass, but it's understandable. I still want to see more from these guys and see what they do. It's a long season, still 10 games left. It's too early to start patting ourselves on the back.
I would say this too. There are a few injuries away from being right back where I thought they could be, which is 7-5.
Yeah.
Right? Like I saw improvement. I was expecting improvement. I thought 7-5 would be a good season. 8-4 would be a really good season after what they went through last year. But listen, they're ahead of the curve, and a lot of that has to do with the coaching, as you mentioned previously. Let's get to the mailbag because we got a lot of them here. This one is from GD Junior or Junior 308G on Twitter. Do you think this victory accelerates the Miami climb back to national relevancy?
I don't know that it accelerates it. I think it's a step in the right direction, like I just said. I think it's another rung on the ladder they're climbing, beating a top 25 team, which, by the way, when Mario Cristobal was hired, did you anticipate it taking 2 years to get their first win against a top 25 team?
Yeah. I mean, it's happened. There's been years where they don't have any wins against top 25 teams in the last 20 years. So,
but I'm saying, I think the fan base they would not have that in the Cristobal bingo game.
No, they wouldn't have. And I would say this too. Look, first win over an SEC team in 10 years, and they played some bad SEC teams along the way. Let's not forget they lost to South Carolina in a bowl game. There were some other SEC teams besides Texas A&M last year that they lost to. Texas A&M was 5-7. So this is a monumental step in terms of just beating teams that are technically more talented than you. Like it hasn't happened very often around here. Notre Dame, probably 2017, right? You would say that was a team that was on paper more talented than Miami. Again, it's been rare. Whereas when you and I were growing up in this city, it happened all the time, right? Like people discounted they're playing such and such number one. They're playing Oklahoma this week. They go out there and kick their ass. Oh my God, they're playing Penn State this week. Look at Penn State, but they go out and kick their ass. So it's a different era, and this is a time where I get it. A cocky Miami Hurricane fan is back, and that's great. Just like when a cocky Miami Heat fan is around or cocky Dolphins fan is around, it's fun to be in a city like that. But this is significant. It really has been a while since they've had
a cocky Inter Miami fan, baby. Go Messi.
Oh yeah, it's true. I can't forget about the soccer fans. Same guy. This is from GD Junior. Do you think this victory has a significant impact on Miami's recruiting for this year? Yes, I do. I think this helps them keep a lot of guys. I said that a little while ago. I think anybody who you were nervous about, the Chance Robinsons of the world, who took trips to Florida and Penn State, the JoJo Traders, who continues to be pursued, the Zaquan Pattersons. This is what they wanted to see. That's the question I asked James Williams after the game. I said, hey, you were a 5-star recruit. What do you think this win means for Miami? For the recruits, the guys that are sitting out there. He goes, we just wanted to see this team win, right? Like that's for years what these guys wanted to see. They wanted to see them come through and deliver so they could get excited about it. Hey, I'm going to a program that wins these kind of games, And so to me, yes, there's no doubt there'll be an improvement.
Yeah, and I think not just in the high school recruiting battle. I think this helps with the portal battle as well. Yeah. Remember, there's a bunch of guys on that A&M roster that are from South Florida, and if they see that program begin to decline, disintegrate, and they just got their asses kicked by their hometown team, they're probably saying, you know what, that portal's looking pretty good.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Carlos. This is from Tyler Overly. T Overly on Twitter. If we play the rest of the season like we did Saturday, thoughts on us winning 10, 11 games? Clemson looks beatable. It's a home game. And if we lock down FSU's receivers, do you think we stand a puncher's chance? Thoughts?
Listen, that's a lot of what ifs. That's like somebody on Twitter, I think it was Corey Lowe, my man, told me, or somebody else, I forget, asked me, what? Imagine what the score would have been if not for the penalties and the muff punt and the short fields and the block. And I'm like, listen, that's football, man. Imagine what the game would have looked like if Rashard Smith doesn't return a kickoff for a touchdown.
Or they
Those aren't
or
those
they
are
call the holding penalty on that play, by the way,
right.
which
Or
looked like
there's rare occurrences, things that
yeah.
occur throughout the course of a game that they balance themselves out. That's football. Things happen throughout the course of the game that each team needs to overcome, and that's when you get the end result. To me, I still think Florida State to me is the class of the ACC. I think they are the best team in the conference right now. It's going to be very difficult to beat them on the road with the way they are currently constructed. To me, like I said, matchups matter. I think their offensive line can handle our defensive line. I think they have a very good offensive line. I think they're able to run the football. And Jordan Travis has taken a step forward as a passer to me. He's very dangerous in the pocket. And I think that was going to be an issue to me with A&M this weekend was the athleticism of Wegman. And he picked up first downs with his legs a couple times, scored the first touchdown with his legs. And there's going to be more athletic quarterbacks that the Hurricanes face down the road. And if they're in, which they're going to be in a lot of man coverage, they're going to be in a lot of pressure situations with their backs turned to the quarterback. And if they can't close on that quickly or find a way to keep their rush lanes and keep that quarterback in the pocket or at least get him down early, it's going to be a problem. And Jordan Travis presents that kind of a problem. So Florida State to me is going to be very difficult to beat, as much as I hate to say that because I hate the Seminoles. Clemson to me is still Clemson. They still have a ton of talent on that roster. They're still trying to figure things out. They can make adjustments throughout the course of the season that gets them back in position to win just because they have the amount of talent to do so. They have a loaded roster. North Carolina has probably, if not the best, one of the best quarterbacks, probably the third best quarterback in the country, maybe, and Drake May. I thought they'd struggle because they were missing Phil Longo, put up another 40 spot against App State. It is App State. But who knows how that game turns out, because I think their defense is better than I anticipated, and I think you anticipated as well. And, shout out to App State, almost beating North Carolina again for a second year in a row, putting up 33 points. Good job, Frank Ponce. So I don't know. I don't know how things are going to play out. I think it's one of these things where we should take each game and enjoy it as it comes. Whatever happens. Just enjoy the moment and don't try and set expectations for what the season might end up being. Because if you start setting that bar too high, you're going to end up with a 9-3 season and end up disappointed. And that's not what you want to do, man. Enjoy the 9-3. Enjoy each win, because we were 5-7 a year ago. And we've been averaging 7-5 for a long time. 9-3 sounds a hell of a lot better than what we've seen.
I agree. I think Miami fans have to look at this as Mario Cristobal framed it afterward and on the radio. This is a step forward. This is what you wanted to see in year two. You didn't want to see 7-5. You wanted to see 9-3, right? Like that's what the recruits want to see. And I think they're on a path towards that. They've just got to stay healthy. And I'll say this, we can sit here and play the what if game. If Miami had to play Florida State this week on Saturday, would they really be in a position to win that game, even if they were playing at home without, let's say, Cam Kitchens, without, Branson Dean, or without a Mark Fletcher, or without Key Mesler? No, they're going to need to be fully healthy for that game. And that game is somewhere in November, right? First or second weekend in November, towards the end of the year. It's the last month of the season in their place. Like, I get it. Get excited if you're a Miami fan, but stay within reason and understand what you have here. And it's not because I love Florida State. Like, Miami fans are like, you're such a Florida State homer. Oh my God. No, Mike Norvell's in his fourth year, dude. Like, he did his job. He did a great job with the transfer portal, and he did a good job recruiting. He's got enough recruits, okay, that he's got on that roster that he picked that have helped that team. And so
I'll say this: Saturday's performance makes me feel better going into that Florida State game.
No, yes, I don't think they're going to get embarrassed, and I was worried that would be the case. I think they can hang with Florida State, and it's a rivalry game. You never know. Miami goes in there, they create turnovers, they get FSU feeling too cocky or too excited about themselves, and they pull the upset. Who's to say that couldn't happen? I think it's possible. I just, you asking me, what do I give a puncher's chance? Sure, I give a puncher's chance. But we're also a long way off, and we have no idea what kind of injury situation either team is going to be in by then. So that's why all this stuff, these predictions, these what do you think, it's so hard to do, because injuries are they just happen so much in football. You don't know who's going to be healthy by the time that game is played.
Yeah, and with the puncher's chance, I think we've gone from being Glass Joe against Florida State coming into the season to maybe being Piston Honda, giving you a
Yeah.
little punch out reference. Maybe we've gone up the scale a little bit.
Yes. All right. This is from Samuel Dumarque on Twitter. How has your outlook changed after watching the game and going against our Canes? Has your outlook changed for the season after watching North Carolina and Clemson struggle, the Cane success, and all the Cane success Saturday? He also wants an injury report. How do you feel about our cornerback room moving forward? My outlook, I mean, look, after 2 weeks, what you can say about this Miami team is that they have an offense that can score points. Okay, they have Tyler Van Dyke. The changes, like you said, Carlos, the hires were the right hires, right? Jaden Davis looks like a number one cornerback right now. He
Yep.
wasn't that guy at Oklahoma. Right now in the ACC through 2 games, he looks like a number one corner. But as far as my outlook on Clemson and North Carolina, look, I'm not going to change my stance on Clemson. I picked them to win the ACC this year because they've won it 7 of the last 8 years, and Dabo Swinney still has a talented roster, still has a 5-star quarterback on his team, still has some talent all over the roster. Like, that's not going to be an easy game. And Carolina, as we've mentioned, Carlos, they still have Drake May. As long as he's in that lineup, it's a tough game to win.
Listen, Clemson struggled early in the season last year. They had a bad loss too, and they beat the crap out of us last season. North Carolina, same thing last year against App State, almost lost, close game on the road.
Came in here
Or
and
actually,
won.
or at home, yeah, and we still lost. So I think take everything with a grain of salt. Just because teams, like I said, matchups matter. Because teams
Mm-hmm.
struggle against one team does not mean that is going to automatically translate over to the next. And careful using results. Well, we beat this team and they lost to them, or they would play them close, so we should beat them. The transitive property does not exist in college football, guys. That's just a math thing. All right, dropping a little knowledge on you there.
There you go. This is from Andrew V_17. Has there been any player or position group that have exceeded your expectations? Any that underwhelmed? Cough, cough, left tackle. I would say obviously Jaden Davis to me is the one, right? Like the
Yeah.
one dude like that you can signify as just one person. I say position group that's exceeded receivers. I was worried about receivers. I mean, there was every reason to be worried about them. Collectively, what they did on Saturday, to see, listen, how long are we talking about Xavier Restrepo and what a great relationship he had 100-yard game in his career before Saturday. One.
Yep.
Like, you have to put it on paper at a certain point. It's not just, hey, look at he's great in practice. These Green Tree All-Stars, these Don Bailey All-Stars, like, enough of that. Like, go out on the field and do it on Saturday. And he did it.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot from Jacoby George in flashes. He stepped up Saturday. He still has his moments where he just, to me, he's like the DJ Ivy of the offense. I said that in a text thread. He has moments where he just, he loses his mind. He's not out there. You could see he's not mentally there for whatever reason. Even on the touchdown, the long touchdown, he caught the ball in between those two defenders, got hit, and you could see he expected to fall down.
Yeah.
And he was just standing there for a second.
He
It was
was,
like,
he
oh,
was
I'm still
stunned.
up. Let me keep running. Okay. So he was like startled. So yeah, I mean, there's a long way to go, man. And you know what? Talking about positions that are struggling, I think I agree with your assessment of Jaden Davis. To me, Corey Flagg's performance on Saturday was a surprise. I think, I love what Matt Lee's bringing at center. He's been a huge addition. And I said before the season started, my concern was the tackle spot with Jalen Rivers, the left tackle. Francis Mauigoa is struggling at right tackle as well. Jalen Rivers, his pass blocking grade this Saturday was 54.8. Mauigoa's was 55.0. Not great. It's below average. They both struggled a little bit. And I think as the season wears on, do you make a change? Do you keep it, or hopefully they improve? Like I said, I don't think Jalen Rivers is necessarily a left tackle, but Inez Cooper is playing well at that right guard spot. So it's tough to make that kind of a move now.
Listen, man, they were facing some aliens. Like, I don't care. Like, this is one of the best defensive lines they're going to face. This is a Clemson FSU caliber defensive line in terms of talent, like in terms of, grade A meat type of thing. And in the end, Mauigoa was flagged 3 times for holding. That affected his PFF grade. And then, you and I agree. I think Jalen Rivers is an interior lineman. Obviously the coaching staff feels different. Alex Mirabal says he's a real left tackle. He graded out 89th in pass blocking, according to PFF. So I'm looking at the score right here. So, in the end, they did their jobs. Tyler was only sacked twice, and it against this defensive line. I don't know. Last year, how many sacks do you think this offensive line gives up in this game? 7, 8. Does Tyler have any time to throw the football? Probably not. They were pockets. There were opportunity to make plays, and that's because he got the protection he needed. So, all right, let's keep moving on to the questions. Any news on Jaleel Skinner? Yeah, he's still skinny. He's still not getting any work. Listen, there's going to be guys that leave the program, guys. Like, there are people on this team that just aren't playing because Mario doesn't think they can play, or they're not doing what they need to do in practice to earn snaps. Cyrus Moss is one of them, right? I mean, Cyrus Moss ran out on the field, Carlos. And again, I'm not putting on my haterade here, guys. I'm not doing this to be a dick. I'm just saying this because it's the truth. I saw Cyrus Moss run on the field, and I thought, is that one of those fans who dresses up in the full uniform and run and like got into the group with because he was so thin. He is very, very thin, and he's trying to put on weight. Jason Taylor's trying to help the kid, but you can't play him if he's just not physically in the position to do it. So there's guys that just listen. Their recruiting mistakes happen, and sometimes guys are out of the rotation because they're not your best. And I want, as a fan, you want your coach to play the best players.
Yeah, and you can't. The one thing that's the most difficult to project during the recruiting process is how much a guy is going to be able to fill out and hold weight. A guy might have a big frame, but they might just have their biological makeup. Maybe they just can't hold weight. They can't get bigger. They have a certain ceiling. Their body will not allow them to surpass. And that seems to be happening with Cyrus Moss and Jaleel Skinner. Hopefully maybe against Bethune-Cookman, Skinner makes some plays.
They'll play in that game for sure. They'll probably
and
play
earns an
against Temple
opportunity
as
to maybe
well.
get some
Yeah.
snaps against real teams, because I think Jaleel Skinner can be a game changer at tight end for them. But Riley Williams right now is getting all the backup snaps, and hopefully Arroyo comes back soon and can make an impact. But I think that's the one deficiency on offense right now is the tight end spot in the passing game.
We'll see what happens with Arroyo. They're bringing him back slowly, clearly. This is from Nordy Kane at Gokus Barbell. Okay, this is a great name on Twitter. If Dawson Guidry continue to call great games, how long do you expect Mario will be able to keep them on staff? Well, usually coordinators don't get jobs, okay, at better places or head coaching jobs, right, which is a step up, until you win a whole bunch of games. So until this team wins 10, 11, 12 games, I would say Mario should be able to keep them going into next year. That doesn't mean somebody won't come after Shannon Dawson if this offense averages 40 points a game and plays really well the rest of the year. But my point here is, what are your expectations, right? Like, what do you like, Carlos? These are guys that were, Shannon Dawson was basically an assistant as far as running the offense at Houston and at West Virginia. This is his first opportunity to really show his stuff, I think, where he's really in control of the offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Lance Guidry was at Marshall. I think he went to Tulane briefly, right, for a cup of coffee. Like, he hasn't been able to get hired by Power 5 schools because of some issues in his past. So, like, yes, they'll get phone calls, but I think Miami now, this Miami, the one that spends money, not the old Miami, the one that pays its assistant coaches, should be able to hold on to him for a couple of years.
But I think it's also in their best interest, if this program continues to ascend, to stay on for at least 3 years, right? Because the better they get and the better they look, the better the job they'll be able to land. Because let's say coming off the season, you go 9-3. Yeah, the offense looks great. Where's Lance Guidry going to end up? Where's Dawson going to end up? They're going to end up at a lower non-Power 5 school, probably coming off a losing season that they're going to have to rebuild. Whereas if they keep on going, they may end up at a program that's been traditionally better than what they were, coming off a couple bad seasons. That's easier to rebuild and easier to plug and play in a Power 5 conference, which then makes more sense.
Yeah. This is from Mickey C, MJC Miami. Are you still going to pick against Miami until they win a national championship? I said that last year. This year I will continue to pick against them when they play in a big game until they keep winning them. How's that? Is that all right, Mickey C? Can I keep doing that for you? All right, last one from Kane Finn. Are you buying Carlos croquetas and a café con leche at least? I don't know. He wouldn't let me buy it for him today, guys. He said he's doing this intermittent fasting.
We're trying to. Listen, it's probably not gonna work out, but whatever. Day one, here we go. Let's see what happens. I'm already starving. It's 10:45, and this fast is about to break.
Carlos, thank you for coming on and doing another episode with me. We were not even going to break down the Bethune-Cookman game because we know, hey, listen, Miami should play a lot of guys in this game. We don't need to sit here and do any scouting reports or talk about that. They'll play Temple the following week in Philadelphia, and then it's home for Georgia Tech in the ACC opener. So there'll be plenty of coverage here on the Wide Right podcast. Make sure you subscribe here and to Carlos's podcast, the MIA All Day Pod. And if you get a chance, go over to theathletic.com, buy a subscription. I think they're still only $1 right now for the first month of the season. So sign up, support me, support Carlos over at the MIA All Day Podcast. We appreciate you listening. I am not going to physically eat crow in front of anybody. In fact, I can't either. I started new medication, Carlos. I'm on this new Ozempic stuff for my diabetes, and so I'm very nauseous today. If you were to stick a crow in my face at 475 degrees, I'd probably puke. So I'm not going to do that. But I did figuratively on the show apologize to Miami fans for not picking them against Texas A&M.
We're in a couple of weeks. We're going to see a slim down, better looking Manny. He's going to be tanned. He's going to be ripped. He's going to look like
that's pressure now, man.
A WWE superstar. So get ready. I think the other thing we should do is, hey, if you have any sort of suggestions for us in terms of a topic we can cover on the pod, since we have a couple open weeks basically coming up, something you want to hear us talk about aside from the game itself, let us know. We'll tackle it.
Yes.
Or maybe I'll tackle it on my own pod if Manny doesn't feel like doing it.
No, listen, hey, make sure you subscribe to Carlos's pod, MIA All Day. Find it, listen to him. He's obviously a lot smarter than me. He knew this was going to happen. He knew Miami was going to be Texas A&M. I didn't. So kudos for that. Thanks for coming on, Carlos.
No problem. Peace.